Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and I got this size huge dragon. I think in a pack at one point from Five Below that had several other dragons in it. I can't remember, but I have spray painted him with primer red and dry brushed him with some white craft paint. And I want to make like a kind of sandrake kind of deal, like something that like is out in the desert in the Wild West for my players to have to deal with. So I didn't record me basing him, and this is just a game board piece. This isn't a real base. It's just I cut a 3-inch-ish circle and glued him to it with some baking powder, baking soda, and glue. And then I glued him to it and spray painted it all and dry brushed it. So that's where I'm at. And it didn't take me long to do this. I was on the phone and doing some other stuff. So what I want to do now is I want to get a little bit of water and a little bit of, I'm going to use this Territorial Beige. And I'm going to dampen my brush. And I don't want this to be an omega thick coat. And this Territorial Beige is, I just opened it and cut the plastic off it. So I want some of this to be thin enough that I can kind of see through the paint job. You know what I mean? I want it to be a little bit transparent. Obviously, it's not a purple dragon, but, you know, nor is it really a dragon either, I guess. But I don't know what these things are supposed to be. Some kind of stubby failed wings? I don't know. Laser robot dragon wings? I'm not sure. Maybe this is some kind of special dragon that's just what they have. Look, man, I don't even know where the package for this went. I think when I bought it, I took them out of the package so I could put them in a backpack because I was on a business trip and I couldn't just be carrying around this like 3-foot thing of dragons or however long it was. Couldn't just be like all over the world going into meetings carrying an armful of dragons. Nah, I could have left them in my car, but I haven't been going out of town a lot lately, and I don't know if it's because I haven't really needed to or because I just don't feel like it. I'm trying to figure out what's the appropriate amount of time to spend at visiting sites in different areas and stuff, and find a good balance. Because I have to have a work-life balance to where I can still have time to do the things I enjoy, hang out with my family, and do my channel here. But I still have a ton of work I got to get done, and sometimes I feel like I'm really rushing to get everything figured out. And it's just a matter of managing that balance, I think, is my main issue at the moment. Is just not knowing where the right line is, and I'm trying to fine-tune that. If I didn't do the channel, it would probably be a little easier, because before I started the channel, I didn't have any really issues. And then I've also taken on some other roles in my life, too. And I've stopped some activities that I used to do. So it's like, it's a myriad of just changes. And, like 70% of my schedule at work is like me. And like 30% is like events that have to be dealt with that are out of my control, like contractors that need supervision, or sometimes I still have to cover shifts for people. Not always, but sometimes. And things like that. So, I mean, but like 70% of my schedule, I just kind of like pick on my own. But I got to I got to give them a fair shake and give them the hours that I owe them, that I have to get paid. I can't just be like, here's 10 hours. That's all I got for you. I got to give them, got to give them at least 40 hours, But sometimes I wish I didn't. I don't know what I'd do with all my spare time. Probably just craft a lot. I mean, I don't know. I'd probably just be making miniatures and train all the time anyways if I didn't work. Or fixing up my house or whatever, terraforming my yard. Whatever I get into, whatever happens. I'm not super motivated to do too much different stuff. I had a guy come today and give me a quote on getting some trees cut out. That was pretty cool. That was exciting. Well, that wasn't that exciting. It's a lot more money than I had to throw around. I knew it was going to be a lot because I had gotten a quote for like $5,000 before, and this is actually a lot better. This dude gave me a very reasonable and good quote, but it's just I don't have like thousands of dollars just chilling. That's like all the money I have is, I got plans for it. I got plans for my money that don't involve me blowing it all in one spot. Get that inside the legs. Those are a little harder to get to, I'm noticing. Probably should have painted this in some kind of different order so it was a little more manageable. I was on the news tonight. That was kind of exciting, I guess, for people that still watch the news. I don't really watch it, but I was on it. I did watch it because I knew I was going to be on it, though. I was up at my parents' house BSing with them, and Mrs. Doom and the kids were down here, and Mrs. Doom and the kids don't care about the news. She does a little bit, but the kids don't really. They're 7 and 9, but so we my parents and I sat and I was right at the beginning of the news, so I didn't have to hang out too long and wait. But we watched me on the news. That was good. I was only on there for about 30 seconds or a minute. It wasn't a super long time. Just a reporter was asking me some questions about a situation, and I was answering them because I'm a swell guy. The swellest of the dudes. Okay, I think that's pretty close to what we wanted. I think that's a good base coat color for this guy. I do want to lighten him up. This khaki. And I think I want to mix a little bit of yellow in with that khaki. I haven't committed to that yet, though. But it feels like that's what I want. This is actually a pretty decent sculpt besides those weird wing things. All right, let me see here. So to dry brush this dude, let's get a soft brush. Oh, this one looks like it's starting to fall apart. Now, these are from the Dollar Tree, and they're just makeup brushes. They're not real paint brushes. They're miniature brushes. So if they start falling apart, I don't really panic or worry about it too much. But you can see how that line there, that's all supposed to be inside the handle. Let's get some hot air on this guy, though, so we can start dry brushing him down. I think he looks pretty decent like that. You could throw a wash on there and have a nice looking mini right there, but we're not done. All right, so we'll get some khaki. And I'm worried that brush is going to fall apart on me, so let me grab a different one. Okay. And then we want to get a lot of that off because we don't want to go overboard here. We just want to kind of add some. That brush, I think it has blue paint in it. I thought I rinsed that out with scalding hot water. It should not have blue paint in it. I don't see any. remnants of blue in there. All right, let's try it again now that my brush is not as dry as I wanted it to be. Okay. So we're just going to keep hitting this, kind of adding another little thin layer to it. I kind of want to add some yellow in there, but I don't want to get too aggressive or too silly. Get a little bit more paint. I've got too much. Okay. I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to lighten them up too much right now. So let's come back in. Oops, dropped my wiper. With that color as my base, I'm going to come in and do all his little nails with that. And I am by no means aiming for a perfection on this. I don't want to be here all night. Okay. Get them back feetses. For a 5 below sculpt, this thing actually isn't so bad. I don't have a lot of critique on it. I mean, it's part of a thing I paid $5 for like 6 or 8 of these decent, size huge dragons. I don't have an enormous amount of criticism on that, man. Seems like a pretty good deal. Alright, let's get a little bit in the... That must be like an ear thing, and that's another spike. That's another spike. Okay. Let's hit those teeth with that, even though I plan on lighting those up more down the road. Okay. We'll kind of keep that consistent, come back to that same spot when I'm doing the other side, so it's, semi-symmetrical in its painting scheme. I know there's a name for that little claw toe on the back of a foot or leg or whatever. I just can't think of what it is. Can't think of what that's called. There's a name for that kind of thing, like birds and some other stuff, and some lizards have that little weird claw on the back. Is it called a dew claw, maybe? I can't think. Maybe it's called a dew claw. All right, so we have the big weird those, and I don't know what the shit to do with those, so I'm going to leave those be for now. But I am going to get these spikes on the back of the bottom of the tail here, and I'm going to do these in that lighter, what's this color called? Khaki. Okay. And I'm going to do these tail spikes with it too. But I'm not going to do an enormous great coverage job with those. I'm just going to drag it around and lighten those up significantly and leave the cracks. I'm really concerned about these, so I'm just going to kind of lighten up the one piece in front there and leave the rest alone, because I'm not sure what the hell is going on with this. I'm not sure what these are about. I don't really like them. Okay. Not a significant change yet. Now, let's get a color, something light. This is Ivory. It's an off-white with a bit of a yellowish tint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of take some of that out of the brush and just drag it across the tops of those, all the claws and areas I just did in that khaki. Just drag it across them lightly. And that's going to give the illusion that they have a little bit of a shine and a little bit of depth, but it's not going to change the sculpt drastically. If you see that you're not leaving any behind, just grab a little bit more, work it into your brush, and get on it. Just like that. And it's going to give it a less than drastic. You know, you don't want this to be like an amazingly drastic change. You want it to be just a noticeable depth that you've added. I'm going to need to hit those top horns a little more than I did, just to kind of give those a little more focus. Okay. Lighten these up, lighten these up. Hit the insides. Come over here, the inside a little bit. Okay. Starting to look a little nicer. I don't know what these things are here. These like weird like fin, like webbing things. Like maybe those were supposed to be wings. But I am going to drag this up and lighten those up some. I'm going to go a little bit lighter than the rest of the tone with those. I'd like to think of how I can make those look translucent without using like a speed paint or an oil-based. There's some ways you can kind of like give an illusion of that, but I can't think of a good way to do it. All right, so now all that's done, we need to do one more thing. You want to kind of rinse your brush out, and we're going to use that off-white. We're going to do the eyes. And then we have some white paint here that I used for the dry brushing. I'm going to steal a little bit of that and mix it with this ivory. I'm going to drag the teeth with that just lightly. Okay, let's clean that brush out real quick and get a red. I would rather use a speed paint in here or a wash, but I'm not going to make a red wash for a quick paint job like this. So I'm just going to get this cardinal red here. I'm going to get a little bit on my cardboard, just about that much, and I'm going to get water. Fill my brush up with water and thin that down, not too much. Then I'm going to get in here at an angle. And get that tongue. Now I got it all over the darn teeth, just like I didn't want to. So I'm going to try to clean that off lightly. Okay. It'll pass. It's not ideal, but it'll pass off. All right. Now, the whites of the eyes, I think could go a little whiter. So I'm just going to get a tiny dot of the white paint with nothing mixed in it and just kind of make one more inner layer of a lighter color. Okay. something like that. Now there's these little weird like raised kind of scales here. I want to give those some interest. I'm going to get this golden sunset color right here. And I'm just going to kind of hit those up with a really thin, even coat on those little bumps. And I'm not really sure what these signify or what they're supposed to be. There's 5 on that side, it looks like. And it looks like there's 5 on this side. We'll add something in with the lore. Okay. So we're going to call it the Death Valley Drake. And long since before pioneers moved west to conquer these lands, stories of this horrible creature were being told. But like many of the lore, much of the lore and many of the stories, people choose not to heed the warnings that accompany creatures like the Death Valley Drake because it doesn't seem modern and real. Unfortunately, you try to pass through here at night, you're going to encounter it. Or if you camp here in the wrong area in Death Valley at night, you're going to encounter it. Okay, so this is very watered down, thinner than soy sauce even, and I'm just going to hit, there's some armor plating, see on his arms. I just want to kind of introduce some of that yellow on there, just lightly, lightly, lightly. And on this front of this arm here, just lightly, lightly, lightly. I don't want to put a lot of effort into that. And then there's some here. See that on the front of his back legs? Just get some more of that and drag it there. Okay. I kind of want to do his underbelly, but I don't think it's going to add much to the miniature and you won't see it well. So I think I'm going to leave that kind of how it is. All right, so let's get the base and the eyes figured out. The base should be relatively easy. I'm going to get a kind of a bigger brush. I'm going to get my deep brown from the Dollar Tree, which, by the way, I kind of shattered the lid to yesterday with some aggressive paint slamming. And I am going to, instead of doing a complete and total coat over everything, I'm going to smear it around and use it to create some different layers, and then I'm just going to mix the other colors that I use for my painted desert kind of vibe, and I'm just going to save myself some steps. So right now I'm just spreading it around and not hitting every single spot. Okay, then I'm going to get some khaki and come back and do the rest with some water. Maybe. I thought I was. Now I can't find the damn khaki. There it is. So to nail this khaki, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a good bit of water on my brush, and I'm going to wipe it into that, and then I'm going to grab some khaki. And I'm going to do this in 2 stages. In the first stage, I'm going to make this kind of pinkish color with the deep brown and the khaki in the water. And we don't want this to look like a pattern, so we want it to be kind of sporadic and random. And as it starts to run out, just grab some more and don't try to be overbearing and don't try to keep it consistent and the same. And that is kind of how all these painted desert bases have been. Except for I've made them very many different ways, and they always kind of turn out looking about the same, thankfully. We don't want any like definitive brush marks or anything either. And we don't want giant patches around the feet where there's no paint. Now I'm going to get this again over here with more water and make another color. This is just going to be closer to what khaki is, but not just plain khaki. It's got a little bit of that in there. And then I'm going to kind of smush that around. I'm being real careful not to get it on my feet. And let's figure out the eyes. Red's probably the easy one on that, and the obvious one. I don't usually do irises and pupils. So let me look at this and see what's going to be necessary. If we can just do the irises and red and make it look good, I'm going to make them looking kind of down. I don't think he really needs the pupils. Clean that brush. I did want to do something a little bit more with these teeth. I'm not quite done with those, I think. Getting another brush. And some white. And I just want to lighten those up a little bit more. I want those to kind of pop and be noticeable. Also, that little bit of that pink, I just don't like that. And I want to kind of try to hide that a little bit. Where I overpainted. It's not perfect, but it's definitely... Now, a wash could be pretty great on him, but I don't think we need it. I think he's going to tell the story we want him to tell. He's the Death Valley Drake, and he is a people killer. Yeah, that's what he does. Eats people, kills people, slaps people in the face when they're not looking, steals their shoes. They wake up, they're like, where are my boots? And that'll start drying. So there it is, the Death Valley Drake. Again, I didn't sculpt this. This is just a cool dragon I had from the Dollar Tree or something. I'm not sure where I got it. Or not Dollar Tree, Five Below, I think, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I might have got it at a flea market. But I can't think exactly though. Yeah, it must have been from Five Below. Never mind, it's from Five Below. I'm right. 95% sure I'm right. But nice sculpt, especially because I think I got 6 or 8 of these for $5, and they're size huge. They fit on a 3-inch base. They're chunky and strong, and here's a regular mini next to one. Yeah, so they're pretty sizable, my dudes. That's kind of... Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, leave a comment. These are the things that please the algorithm spirits. Also, check out the website, www.dungeon-swag.com. There's a discount code in the description that'll save you 25% off your first month subscription with us. And there's also a link to the Discord in there, so check those out. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.